This was a very quiet neighborhood in Northern California, and heard her and brought her in the house.
A new accuser claiming Sean Combs sexually assaulted her plans to file a lawsuit as the woman's lawyer claims she's been contacted about a video that shows Sean Combs with someone more high profile than him in a sex tape.
I would say this person is undisputably more famous than Mr. Combs. I don't think anybody would argue if they were to know who it was, that would be a true statement.
I have the new details about the purported video and what the new accuser is claiming. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Ariel Mitchell-Kidd is a lawyer who has sued Sean Combs on behalf of clients in the past. And now she's dropping some new bombshells. And I said bombshells, plural. First, Mitchell-Kidd said she's working on a lawsuit for a new client, a woman who has come forward claiming that Sean Diddy Combs sexually assaulted her in California several years ago. Mitchell-Kidd is going to join me here in a bit to detail what her new client told her, and the claim is disturbing. Combs, as you know, faces federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, and he has pleaded not guilty to the charges. He remains in jail being held without bail. The attorneys representing Combs in both his civil and criminal cases say he has never sex trafficked anyone or sexually assaulted anyone. Mark Agnifilo represents Combs in the criminal case.
His resolve is the same. He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent. And we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight any longer.
Now, you might recall that Combs is being sued in civil court by about a dozen people claiming they were sex trafficked, sexually assaulted, or abused in some other type of way. I told you Ariel Mitchell-Kidd had bombshells. The next one has to do with her claim that she's been contacted by a person who said that they want to sell a sex tape in a catch and kill type of operation, and that the video shows Sean Combs engaged in sex with a celebrity who's more high profile than he is. News Nation actually broke this news about the purported video. It really got me wondering, who could be more high profile than Sean Combs? He's been a public figure for decades, and he's a billionaire. Ariel Mitchell-Kidd is going to provide more details about that video here shortly. And you may recall that Mitchell-Kidd was representing Adria English, an adult entertainer suing Combs, claiming that he trafficked her at his white parties. There's news on that front as well, so stay tuned. But first, let's get back to the new accuser that Mitchell-Kidd said she's now representing in a claim against Sean Combs. Tell me a little bit, first of all, about this new client that you are representing.
Yes, I had a young lady reach out to me about 2.5 weeks ago in reference to a sexual assault that occurred in 2018 by Mr. Combs and another individual that Mr. Combs directed to assault her. She was able to escape the assault and ran out into the street, and a neighbor heard her. This was a very quiet neighborhood in Northern California, and heard her and brought her in the house, and the police were called, and she filed a police report. I've actually been in talks already with the police department that she filed the police report with. I am actively working with them to figure out what did and did not happen and why things were not, I don't want to say taken seriously, but what type of investigation was conducted once my client made that those statements and made that report to the police. And I am in the process now of writing her complaint and getting it filed in California courts.
So you're telling me a woman contacted you and said, I actually called police in 2018 about being sexually assaulted by Sean Combs, but yet we never heard about it?
She did tell me that when she initially made the report, she didn't say who it was. She later did call in amend. She said she felt almost crazy that if she were to say who it was, that they wouldn't have believed her when she initially made the report. And I've had that similarly happen to my client in the Trey Songz case, where Mr. Combs, if you look up my case that's currently still pending in litigation in Florida with Trey Songz, Mr. Combs is listed as a defendant in that case. I also had a case with Chris Brown the following year in 2022, where my client, two young ladies, were raped on a boat at Sean Combs' home. And imagine me as an attorney making these statements, advancing these things in court. No one was willing to listen to me in 2021 and 2022. So I can only imagine in 2018 when she did make this phone call to police and was very nervous about saying who it was, that why she wouldn't have said it initially, but she did later on amend her complaint to let the police know it was Mr. Combs.
So there is physically a police report at a police department in Northern California that says, I am this person, my name, and Sean Combs sexually assaulted me.
Yes, that's to my understanding. I'm waiting to get an official. I called the police department there. I spoke to several individuals in the police department, including the records department, and they're the ones who instructed me of their procedure. I needed, because I'm an attorney representing a client, needed to send them a letter on my letterhead, which is what I did, to request a copy of all of the reports and all of the documentations and whatever investigation I would assume that they did, which is what I'm now in the process of waiting for them to return back to me.
Now, Ariel Mitchell-Kidd is not naming the police department where the report was filed, not at this point. She said the assault occurred at the home of a friend of this woman and that her friend knew Sean Combs, who then arrived.
This friend, who she claims is a person who is in the industry and well-connected, Mr. Combs called this individual and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm chilling at my home." And Mr. Combs said, "I'm going to come over." It's actually very funny because I saw a Russell Brand interview recently, and he was talking about now that he's become friends with Mr. Combs, it's like now if he asks me to walk his dog or feed his fish, it's like he's very imposing. You can't tell him no. And it was really jarring for me to hear this Russell Brand interview after hearing the story that my client told me.
Now, I've told you in prior Crime Fix episodes about Sean Combs' former chief of staff, Christina Coram, who was by his side beginning in 2013. Record producer Rodney Low Rod Jones called Coram Sean Combs' Ghislaine Maxwell. Sean Combs has denied the allegations that he has sex trafficked anyone. Mitchell-Kidd says her new client brought up Christina Coram's name in their conversations.
She actually also identified Christina Coram, who Mr. Combs has called KK, and has talked about her in several interviews. And when he received the BET Award, where he talked about, shout out to Cassie for holding me in the dark times. He actually started off with KK. And she said, "I never knew who that lady was. She was with him that night. It wasn't until recently, when the pictures have been coming across all over the internet of her, that she said, this is the lady who was there that night. It was the lady who I described to the police, who I did not identify or have a name, but that the Christina Coram lady was the one who had started to make jokes about sex trafficking my client, that she would be very good on the open market kind of thing. And she said that kind of made her feel uncomfortable. And then she got a drink and then started to feel woozy. And then Mr. Combs first sexually assaulted her with an adamant object, and then directed another gentleman who was there to then penetrate her while he was in the corner pleasuring himself, while Mr. Combs was in the corner pleasuring himself.
So this almost sounds like what's been alleged in these freak-off situations.
Absolutely. It was, and I've talked to several other individuals who I have not taken on as clients. I do not take on everyone who contacts me as a client. There's a level of due diligence that I do conduct and a level of evidence that I need to see in order to make a good faith basis to file a complaint. I do have obligations as an attorney and the bar ethically, and I also have my own moral obligations. So when we come and talk about things of this nature, I always have to use some type of corroborating evidence, either from individuals as witnesses, pictures, something to corroborate that this actually occurred. So I've had other individuals call me and tell me very similar stories, but unfortunately those individuals were not American citizens. They were foreign nationals who were trafficked into Miami by Mr. Combs, but because I could not verify their story, I was unable to take them on as clients.
So she says Christina Coram was there, present. This was Sean Combs' chief of staff until somewhat recently. But this is somebody who knows everything about what's going on with Sean Combs. Do you plan on naming her in the suit?
She will be named as a defendant in this lawsuit. I'm coming after just like Mr. Combs was listed as a defendant in the Trey Songz lawsuit. Anybody who had something to do with it, I'm not going to shy away from coming after them. I think there should be other people indicted with Mr. Combs, but as the government goes, they just want the big fish. But the problem is the big fish can't be the big fish without the little fish helping them accomplish their nefarious goals.
So Ariel Mitchell-Kidd says Sean Combs and Christina Coram will be named in this lawsuit. Coram's social media has gone dark over the last 6 months, and she's nearly impossible to find. Now to the video that Mitchell-Kidd says she's seen screen grabs of, showing Combs and a person more high-profile than Combs engaged in sex. Mitchell-Kidd told me how she became aware of the video.
So about a month ago, I got contacted by an individual purporting to have some very sensitive information. And they also purported to me to have they're in possession of 3 tapes, not just 1 tape with Mr. Combs, but they were only interested in pursuing this 1 tape and were looking for legal representation, mainly, like you just said, because they had saw me being actively involved in civil lawsuits against Mr. Combs, that I would be somebody they were interested in to facilitate doing something with the tapes. Initially, I wasn't sure. They weren't exactly clear on whether or not it was going to be like a catch and kill or facilitating the sale to another third party. I actually called one of my business partners and mentors and had been telling him about this pretty much since the onset of it. They invited me, the individuals that have the video invited me to California, to LA, to come and view the tapes in person. I was hesitant to do so only because once I know something, I'm obligated, based on being an officer of the court, to tell the court what I saw and what I knew. They offered to send me screenshots through text messages, which I declined. And I ended up saying, well, let's FaceTime and then you can show me. This way I have a sense of no evidence or plausible deniability in terms of things that I've actually received or actually seen with my own 2 eyes. And in those couple of stills that they showed me was Mr. Combs and another very shocking, I would imagine, very jarring for a lot of people, individuals in a very pornographic nature.
So Ariel, I have to push you a little bit on this. You've said it's somebody more high profile, and you're saying individuals, plural, more high profile than Sean Combs. I mean, are we talking more high profile in Hollywood? Are we talking a politician? I mean, what are we talking about here?
No, it's someone in the entertainment industry, and I would say this person is undisputably more famous than Mr. Combs. I don't think anybody would argue, if they were to know who it was, that would be a true statement. So
the person in the video who's more high profile than Sean Combs, is this a man or a woman?
I'm not going to say.
Now, I don't want to get too graphic, but I asked Mitchell-Kidd about what else she could see in the video and who.
And this is what prosecutors would call a freak off tape.
I can't see other people in the video. I can't determine. I actually called one of my other clients. When I got this call Thursday, they finally Thursday night called me and came out with it and said, we're ready to move forward with selling this tape. Can you broker the deal? We'll give you X percentage to sell this tape to the other individual in the tape. And I was like, let me, I don't know. I kind of really pulled back a lot and said, well, let me make some phone calls and I'll let you know. So one of the phone calls was to another client that I have, who I know to have been a friend of the individual who they wanted to sell the tape to, and was very close to that individual around the time the tape would have been made. So I wanted to get his perspective on what he felt, my client, how he felt about just everything in general. Would this be something that the other person would be interested in purchasing? Would this, how should I feel about participating in this? I'm talking to my client now to see if he's willing to talk about that conversation that we had, but I also feel like the minute he does that, everybody will automatically know who it is.
Have you ever been contacted about something like that before and asked to broker a deal?
Absolutely. I do this behind the scenes for several A-list celebrities, people I would never tell you about or anybody else about, because I'm paid very well to do this for them and to catch and kill a lot of things on their behalf. Things that either they may have gotten themselves into or somebody else got them into. So this is not something I'm a novice on. I've done it many a times before. However, this is a lot more high profile now that the feds are involved and the other individual. I'm actually more concerned for the other individual in the tape than I am Mr. Combs.
Now, you might be asking yourself, why is Ariel Mitchell-Kidd making this public? The information about the videos with Sean Combs and somebody else.
And part of the reason why I made this statement Friday was, how do I say, I'm very concerned about the other person in the video. I was concerned that the individuals who contacted me to sell the video, if they were to do something, I didn't want anybody to say I had knowledge of something and I didn't say anything, one. And two, if something were to happen to me because of this knowledge that I had, I wanted it to be known that like, look at these people, because it'd probably be them who would have done something to me. Not that I'm per se fearful, but anything, it's been a crazy tipsy-topsy world, especially when we're talking about Mr. Combs.
Have you been threatened at all since you've become involved with, especially with Adria English, obviously, but have you received any threats?
I was threatened by Mr. Combs previously. So in my work with the Trey Songz case, I was told by several individuals, including a celebrity chef and some other people who were close to him, that if I didn't cease my persistence in that lawsuit and then the situation with Chris Brown, that my life was in danger.
Wow. Did you ever report that to law enforcement?
I did not. I didn't want to include the other people. I just bought more guns and then I moved out of the state.
I reached out to Sean Combs' reps for comment on this new accuser, the video, and Mitchell-Kidd's claims that Combs had previously threatened her when she sued him as part of the Trey Songz lawsuit. At the time of this recording, I have not received a response. Songz has denied the claims in that suit. Now back to Adria English, that adult entertainer who's suing Sean Combs, accusing him of sex trafficking her at his white parties from 2004 to 2009. Combs has denied he has sex trafficked anyone. I want to talk just briefly about Adria English, somebody that you filed suit on behalf of in the last many months. It was in July. You're no longer representing her.
Unfortunately, me and Miss English had an issue with a violation, a breach of our contract. So I have had to stop my representation. Once we get to a point where I have a client breaching a contract, I have to end the representation.